What's going on, guys? A bunch of you were asking for this video, so here it is, my 2019 NHL draft review. Obviously, I thought it was a pretty crazy draft, especially when the Red Wings went up to pick their number 6. Even before that, I think Chicago really opened up the entire draft. Based on what they did, it would kind of dictate the rest of the first round at least. So, of course, the top two picks went as we all assumed. Jack Hughes first overall, Kaapo Kakko second. I'm a big believer that Jack Hughes is the better player in the long run. Kaapo Kakko might be better right now, more mature, he's bigger, but I do think Hughes has the higher ceiling, so I really like that pick from the Devils. Also, too, I love the trade they made for Subban. I mentioned that in my other video. So Dach at 3 from the Chicago Blackhawks. That was a big surprise. I think most people thought it'd probably be Turcotte, and before that, there was a lot of talk it might be Cousins. Dach really was never in that conversation for number 3. A lot of people, though, had Dach kind of similar rated to Cousins. But for whatever reason, everything I read said Cousins or Turcotte. And then on draft day, I think it was Stan Bowman's son leaked the pick. So I don't think it's that bad of a pick. I know a lot of Blackhawks fans wanted Turcotte because I think he has ties to Chicago, American player, all that stuff. But I feel like Dach, Turcotte, and Cousins are all pretty similar. Like, they're all centers. They're all going to be good players. It's probably too early to tell who's going to be the best one. I think Turcotte maybe has a bit more skill, but Dach obviously has that size. And I think, you know, could be a very good player for the Blackhawks. Then number 4, you had the Avalanche taking Bowen Byram. Obviously, I love this pick. The best defenseman in that draft class. And if you have him and Cale Makar as your future top pair, that's insane. As well as Landeskog McKinnon and Rantanen as your first forward line. Like, that 5 starting lineup is just insane. I think I mentioned that before in my mock. So I think Hughes, Kakko, and Byram might have been the only picks I got right. You know, it happens. It was a tough draft to predict, that's for sure. Turcotte then goes to LA at number 5. Great pick for LA. Thought he was going to be off the board by then, so the fact he's still available is amazing. Detroit there at 6. This shocked me. Like, when Yzerman went up and he said from the Dell League, whatever he said, I was like, who is he talking about? And then Moritz Seider. So they must have felt like he was the second best defenseman in this draft class behind Byram and valued D more than forwards, or maybe they just thought he was the best player available. I really hope that's the case. In a lot of interviews with Yzerman, he said they're going to take the best player available, so they must have thought that was Seider. Now, this does seem like a bit of a reach. Most people had him ranked somewhere between 15 and 20. Most people, like, you know, had him in the teens. But because he played in Germany, I feel like he was probably under-scouted. The guys that play in the CHL and like the American program, I feel like get the most scouting by far. Then it's the guys in the SHL, so the Swedish League, and the Liga, which is the Finnish League. I feel like playing over in Germany, he probably had like the least amount of eyes on him. He played with the men already in that Dell League, played well. So I'm hoping it's a case of, you know, he's a lot better than people think, just because haven't seen him play enough. And he did look good in World Juniors. So I'm a bit shocked by the pick, but I do trust the Yzer plan. I'm going to be optimistic. Hope it works out. Then at 7, you had Dylan Cousins. I feel like this is pretty low for him as well. Obviously, I think the Detroit pick and Chicago taking Dach caused a couple guys to drop. Very good play for them. I mean, the fact that they could have potentially him, Eichel, Milstad as their 3 centers in the future. Very good. Now, he has played wing before, so in that case, probably him or Milstad will go on the wing. Don't really want one of them on the 3rd line center role, but still a really good future there for Buffalo. And then next up, number 8, you had the Edmonton Oilers taking Philip Broberg. A lot of things I was reading online said that Ken Holland was huge on him. If he was with Detroit still, probably would have taken him, so maybe Yzerman liked Seider a bit better. I think in my mock, I had them taking Matthew Boldy, because I heard Holland also liked the American players, but maybe he had like Turcotte 1, Broberg 2, and then Zegers 3, Boldy 4, something like that. The fact that Zegers was still on the board too and he didn't take him is pretty surprising, but I really read a lot of things that said that Holland was huge on Broberg. I just thought they maybe would have went a forward, because I feel like they have some good young defensemen. Like, they have Bear, they have Jones. I felt like forward is more of a need for Edmonton, but again, if they do think Broberg's the best player, I'm always a proponent of taking best player available, regardless of position. Even if it's a goalie, I'd say, take the best player available, so that they did that. And I think he's left-handed, so him and Bouchard could be Edmonton's future top pair. I think that would look really good for them. Then Zegers at 9 for the Ducks. Another player I think went a little bit lower than I expected. Very good player. I think he's just marginally worse than Turcotte, but almost on that level with him, Dach, and Cousins. So great pick up there at number 9 for the Ducks. Obviously, they're kind of entering a bit of a rebuild here. Bought out Corey Perry. Getzlau's not getting any younger. Defense, like, is still pretty young with Lindholm, Fowler, and Manson, but I don't know if they're a playoff team next year, so I think a big pick like this, if it hits, is awesome for them. Then you have Vancouver taking Podkolzin. So this is a bit surprising for me, but Podkolzin pretty much all year until like the last couple months was considered the number 3 in this draft. Then it came out that he stayed in Russia for at least 2 years, and that kind of made him drop, especially because if he stays in Russia for 2 years, does he possibly stay in Russia longer than that? I think he said, though, like, he's going to come to the NHL, but you never know what's going to happen. So I really like that pick at number 10. I think at number 3, it's probably not the best spot. If you have Byram, Turcotte, other guys I think are similar level, but at 10, I think it's an absolute steal. Let's just say he's a top 5 talent. You get him at number 10. All the other players around there probably are 2 years out anyways. Even if they're a year out, you wait an extra year on this guy, comes over, ready to play, jump in the lineup. You don't have him in the AHL or anything. He's playing in the KHL with men. Great pick for Vancouver. And then next up here at number 11, you have the Arizona Coyotes trading up to draft Victor Soderstrom. I believe they're in the 14th slot, yeah, where Philly was. So another defenseman there. Philly gets York, so Arizona obviously must have valued Soderstrom a lot higher. I do think Soderstrom's a slightly higher level there than York, and I think they had to give up a second-round pick. So a pretty steep price, honestly, when you look at it, to move up 3 spots, but Soderstrom probably wouldn't have been there at 14, and they were maybe thinking Canucks would have taken him, maybe even the Ducks. The fact he's still there at 11, they felt like it was worth it to move up. Obviously, whenever you do that, you just kind of have to hope he pays off, because a lot of the times, we've seen it with like the Leafs, I think, back in the day, they traded up to get Tyler Biggs, and then their pick that they traded, the first rounder, was John Gibson, I think, or Raquel, and then the second that they also added was the other one, so sometimes it can not work out for you. 12, you have Matthew Boldy at Minnesota, and then, again, I thought he would have been gone top 10, so great pick there for Minnesota. I actually had them taking Cole Caulfield because they were looking for that speed, and, you know, Boldy's pretty quick too, but I feel like Caulfield, that's the kind of player they want, would have been the better choice, but Boldy, still a great player. You can see you actually get a run of, like, what is that, 4 players there from the National Team Development Program. I mean, I think like 17 got drafted in the entire draft, pretty much the entire team, so that's kind of insane. Then next year at 13, you have Florida taking Spencer Knight, so a lot of people thought this was going to happen. Luongo's like 40 years old, James Reimer's not that young of a backup, they really don't have that great goalie prospects, so they get the best goalie prospect in a while. 13 is pretty high for a goalie, though. I honestly thought if they're going to take Spencer Knight, they might have traded down. I believe that's what we did in the first mock. They like traded back with Ottawa. I feel like the other teams there, I mean, the next one that may have taken him was Vegas, so I probably wouldn't have traded back past 16, but a lot of teams, like Detroit said they looked to trade back, wasn't a good enough offer, so, you know, if you're risking losing your guy for, say, a mid-round pick, 3rd or 4th, it's probably not worth it, which was probably the case here with Florida. Then, like I said, Philly at 14 gets Cam York. I think that's a great pick, especially, too, with who they got in the second round, with dropping back with Arizona. Cole Caulfield finally gets taken there at 15, goes to the Montreal Canadiens. A bit of a surprise to me. I thought for sure they were going to go defense, but again, best player available. Cole Caulfield at 15 was definitely best player available, so love that pick by Montreal. I think that you should have, like, you know, GM should have learned with Alex DeBrincat, size isn't everything, and he went, what, early second round? I think even Caulfield here at 15 is a bit of a fall. I know people are giving me, like, kind of shit there for having him outside the top 10 in my mock. I had him at 12 to Minnesota, but some GMs still, like, weigh size, I think, size and height way too heavily, and kind of see that there with Caulfield dropping. The Avs then get Alex Newhook at 16, very good player from the BCHL, so kind of similar to Tyson Jost, but I think a bit better. So the Avs definitely like play the home crowd there. Bowen Byram plays for the Vancouver Giants, and then Alex Newhook, of course, plays in the BCHL for Victoria, so thought that was pretty cool. Again, their 2 picks there, like, adding to an already stacked young core. They're going to be so deadly in like 2 years' time. I'm not sure if Grubauer is like the starter for them for the future. That's the only kind of thing I'm worried about, but as long as he can be like, you know, decent starter, doesn't have to be elite, I think they'll be okay. Then you have Peyton Krebs at 17 going to Vegas. This is another player that dropped, I think, a lot. Now, he did have an injury, but I heard that the injury, I'm not sure what it was, is like 100% you can bounce back from it. There's going to be like no lingering issues or anything, so I'm not sure if the injury did cause the drop or just, you know, kind of happened that way, as all the players that went in front of him are all very good players too, but Peyton Krebs at 17 to Vegas, I think, is an honestly great pick. Maybe in like a couple of years they have him and Cody Glass both in that lineup. I think that'll be huge. Thomas Harley at 18. I really felt like the Dallas Stars are going to go defense here, and I think Harley, very good pick. They're kind of saying, too, on the broadcast, he doesn't have the highest ceiling, but he's kind of like one of the more sure bets in this draft class for a D-man. So Dallas, if you look at their history for first-round picks, a lot of them are big misses, so I feel like I'm just going with like a player that should be like a guaranteed NHL player. It's not a bad strategy. Lassie Thompson there for Ottawa. So I felt like because they lost the 4th overall pick, they're going to kind of just swing for the fences there. So I thought maybe Arthur Kaliev probably has the highest ceiling of the guys remaining. Maybe a Ryan Suzuki. I don't know, something like that. Instead, they kind of went with a more safe pick in my mind. Lassie Thompson, good defenseman. Finnish, plays in Kelowna though. Again, solid pick. I thought they're going to take a bit more of a risk. Then after that, you actually have another Finnish defenseman, Ville Heinola there, going to Winnipeg. Of course, they got this pick back from the Kevin Hayes trade. Like that pick a lot, especially after losing Jacob Trouba. I feel like their forward prospects are a lot better right now than defense. Sami Niku, though, probably makes the jump up next year, so they have another Finnish defenseman there, kind of be buddies with. Pool in there, the Penguins. I felt like, I think, who did I predict them at? I was going to go like some forward. Poolin's not a bad pick. Again, I feel like Kaliev is probably better though for like the Penguins. You put him on a wing with Crosby. Poolin's more of like a power forward. I don't know why these teams aren't trying to go for like the guy with the highest ceiling opposed to kind of like a more sure thing. I'm always thinking swing for the fences, try and get the player that could turn out to be the best no matter what, even if he ends up failing and not making the NHL. Bjornfort there to LA, I think is a solid pick. So another team there with 2 picks. They walk away with Alex Turcotte, Tobias Bjornfort. I think very, very good draft, at least even in the first round for LA. Now Simon Holmstrom for the Islanders. That was a shocker too. I think that might have been more than a shocker than the Seider pick from Detroit. I don't know, maybe that's too much, but I didn't see him being a first round pick. I thought like second round, especially with the players still available, like Tomasino, McMichael, Peltier. I don't know about Foot, but Suzuki, Kaliev. Like I thought there were so many better forward prospects. Obviously, though, time will tell. And then Tomasino does go to the Predators. I think it's a very good pick. I think he's like rose the most in terms of his draft stock over the years. So hopefully it's a case where like it's worth the rise. I know he's a good skater, good forward. Like all these guys, we're gonna have to wait and see what happens. Then right after him, Connor McMichael from London goes to Washington. I thought that was another solid pick too. I thought he would have been gone by this point. So 25 for McMichael, I think is a really good pick. Jacob Peltier there to the Flames. 5'9", but obviously not scared of size. They have Johnny Gaudreau. I think that's a good pick. I felt like he was going to be a late first, early second. And, I mean, we'll see, how he plays on the Flames. But they have a lot of good defensive prospects, so I like that pick for them. Now, Tampa Bay taking Nolan Foote. That's pretty cool. Obviously, they drafted Cal Foote, I think, 2 years ago. So now they have Nolan Foote, his brother. Cal hasn't made the NHL yet. There's a chance he could make it this year. So maybe 2 years' time, they're both playing the NHL. Now, it is cool to have the brothers on the team, but I feel like there was better players probably at this pick. For instance, Ryan Suzuki right below him. I feel like he's probably the better prospect. I think he was ranked like top 20 at least. And Suzuki's another guy. Dropped a ton. 28. Was not expecting that. Like when he almost dropped to the first round, I couldn't believe that. Like some people have him as high as 14, 15. But really good pick there, I think, by the Carolina Hurricanes. Braden Tracy here to the Ducks. Plays for Moose Jaw. That's another one. I don't think he's projected by almost anyone to go first round. He's more of a second, maybe even like early third round guy. So I don't know. I mean, there's obviously teams that like certain guys, probably see stuff that I don't, because a lot of these guys I don't even watch. I'm just looking at the stats and what scouts say. John Beecher there, such a Bruins pick, 6'3", plays for the National Team Development Program. I feel like that's a decent pick there at the end of the first round. And then Ryan Johnson there, USHL, Buffalo, they get their defenseman. Personally, I feel like Matthew Robertson, probably a better pick there, last pick in the first round, but again, we're going to have to see what happens. So after this, I just want to kind of quickly touch on the second round and then go through a few of the teams drafts I thought were the best. So Ottawa here takes Shane Pinto. Kaliev goes with the next pick to LA. Again, LA had such a good draft. I knew they had someone else. So Turcotte, Bjornfort, and Kaliev. That's insane in my opinion. Like all three are first round talents. I guess they pretty much were all first round picks. Kaliev 2 outside. I don't know how Ottawa passes on Kaliev. Like they took a safer pick in my opinion with that first rounder. Go for Kaliev. Get someone there that can do something for that team. I feel like right now Shabbat's, their highest end player. And obviously they made that trade for Eric Brandstrom, but I don't know, I feel like they should be trying to get some higher ceiling guys. Bobby Brink here, Philadelphia. So they actually traded up to get this pick with the Arizona second. So traded back, got Cam York, traded up, got Bobby Brink. Love the pick. I thought Bobby Brink would have been a late first rounder. Not the best skater, but really good scorer, really good hands. I think those 2 picks for Philly, honestly, I think they made out really, really well. Now Detroit here, Antti Tomasino, I hope I said that right. Finnish defenseman. I feel like Yzerman definitely looked at your defensive prospects and wasn't happy with it. And, I mean, I don't know. I feel like they're not that bad, but, again, could just be best player available. But going to defenseman, I think, especially with the reach on Seider, definitely shows we wanted to get some better defensemen in our prospect pool. Now, Carolina here takes a Russian goalie. I honestly have no idea about him. Peter Kokov. I thought Matt Sogard, who went with the next pick to Ottawa, was the second best goalie in this draft. Him or Hunter Jones. The Russian, I'm not going to lie, just no idea if anyone knows if he's really good or anything. Russian's obviously always a risk, but he's probably pretty good to go early second. Matt Sogard there, 6'8", he's huge. Could be the next Ben Bishop. So Ottawa there gets a defenseman, a forward, and a goalie with their first 3 picks, which were by the 37th pick, so not too bad. Edmonton, Raphael Lavoie, 38, really like that. So they get him and Philip Broberg. I thought Lavoie's first-round talent. Whenever you can get a first-round talent in a round other than the first round, I think that's a good spot. Same goes for Hoglander, Vancouver, 40. Really liked that pick. Alex Vlasic, I thought would be like early second, late first. So Chicago there gets him and Doc. Definitely going for size, eh? Doc 6'4", Vlasic 6'6". Igor Afanasyev here. So This is actually the team that Philly traded with. Predators trade down. This is actually from the Subban trade. Really like him. I thought maybe he'd be a first rounder, late first rounder, but great pick there for the Preds. Matthew Robertson finally goes 49 to the Rangers. I think that's a really good pick. So coming with Kakko and Robertson, not bad at all. Looking through here, Nick Robertson I think is a very good pick there from the Leafs. Some people had him late first. Also, guys, I missed a prospect I want to touch on. Kaden Korczak there, defenseman for Kelowna. I think it's a very good pick by Vegas. So him and Krebs for their first 2 picks. Honestly, I think they made out really, really well. Vegas usually does really good drafting. Like, if you looked at that expansion draft, like their first year, it was unreal. The next year they didn't have as many picks, but still. Also, Florida's pick here, defenseman Vladislav Kuliachonik. I think that's how you say his name. He plays for Flint. Supposed to be pretty good. Some people had him as early as late first. Most people said second. I think it's a really good pick. Detroit's next pick there, Robert Mastrosimone, not sure. I think it's supposed to be a really good forward. Plays in the USHL there. You have Brett Leeson, older player, but played really well in the WHL. Some people thought early second, so late second there for Washington's a great pick. Hunter Jones was the other prospect I thought was probably second best goalie. Minnesota gets him late there. I think that's solid. Detroit, Albert Johansson, another defenseman again. I feel like Yzerman just hate our defensive prospects, so hopefully a couple of those guys become NHLers. And like I was saying, guys, I wanted to show you a few of the teams I thought had really good drafts. So starting out here with Carolina, their first pick wasn't until 28, still got Ryan Suzuki. This Russian goalie in the second round, again, kind of a wild card. I'm not really too familiar with him. If he turns out to be a starting goaltender, though, great pick. Then in the third round, I feel like they got 2 second-round talents. Patrick Stola there. A lot of people said maybe even late first for him, but second round for sure. Goes in the third. They get him. Also, Antoni Honka there. I thought it would be a second round pick as well. So they got both those guys in the third. Plus, they had all these picks. I'm sure a couple of those guys make it through, or they use them in a trade or something. I think just Carolina definitely crushed it. And then looking at Chicago here, even if they did draft by size, I still really like both those picks, Doc and Vlasic. I'm not sure why some Blackhawks fans are upset with Doc. Vlasic, I think, is a great pick in the second round. Also, Antti Strella there in the fourth, I think is a solid kind of late round pick. Already touched on them, but I think Colorado getting Byram and Newhook is just insane. I'm looking at the other players here. I'm not really too familiar with any of the others, but again, as long as Byram and Newhook play or become the players they're supposed to be, Colorado's laughing. And look at my favorite team next year, guys, the Detroit Red Wings. Like I was saying, obviously Seider was a reach, but I really do hope it pays off. Gotta trust Yzerman. Lots of defensemen there for our first 5 picks. Aben Grew here, we got in the third round. Now he's supposed to be like the next Marchand. Maybe not quite as skilled, but said that's his favorite player. Got a ton of penalty minutes in Sweden. Scores a decent amount too, so that could be the case. That'd be awesome. Obviously, when you have this many picks, you gotta just hope a couple of late round guys work out. I already kind of mentioned it, but I think Broberg and Lavoie for Edmonton with their first 2 picks. Really good job there by Ken Holland. LA, Turkov, Bjornfort, Kaliev. That's an insane top 3. Honestly, job well done for them. And looking at it here, I think there was another team, Montreal. So they got Cole Caulfield. I think that was a great first pick. A lot of these other players I'm not too familiar with, but lots of players there drafted. And I feel like just whenever you have more picks, it's kind of like more spins at the slot machine or something. There's a better chance it'll work out. Nashville, Tomasino, then trading back to get Afanasayev due to the Subban trade. I think it's good picks. Still don't think the Subban trade was great for them. I feel like you could have done something else to clear cap space. Devils, obviously, Jack Hughes first overall. I think Arkadiuk here, however you say his name, I know he's defenseman for the 67s, was a good pick at the end of the second. Also, Michael Vukojevic, defenseman for Kitchener, I think is also a really good pick. Also, too, they actually got Jack Hughes' buddy there, Patrick Monahan. I saw an interview where he said, he's a good player or whatever. Devils go and get him in the 6th, so thought that was sick. And then next year, guys, we have the Rangers, like I already mentioned. Kaapo Kakko, obviously, sick pick at number 2. They were just going to take whoever's left between Hughes and Kakko. Really like the Robertson pick in the 2nd round. Also, I really like the Levi Altonen pick here in the 6th round. He averaged like a point per game in the under 18 tournament, I think. So I think that's a really good 6th round pick. Maybe because he's smaller or whatever, but supposed to be a really good offensive player. It's always weird when you see certain guys drop a lot. Like, remember Spencer Watson? He was sick in Kingston. Went like last pick in the draft, I think, to LA. Kind of nuts. Then Philly here already mentioned Cam York, Bobby Brink. I think just a great first 2 picks. Not too familiar with some of these other players, but they have a decent amount of picks there, so I'm sure as long as like one other guy hits, it'll be a great draft for them. I'm looking through the rest here. Toronto didn't have a first round pick, but I still think they did really well. Nick Robertson, late 2nd, I think is a great pick. Even Mikko Kokkonen in there in the 3rd, I think is also a really good pick. I think he's supposed to be a pretty good defenseman from Finland. And let me see, the other teams I thought were really good. Vancouver I mentioned, but Coles and Hogler with the first 2, I thought really good picks. And you can see just behind that, tons of other players. So again, a lot of these guys like in later rounds I really don't know about, but when you have that many picks, just gives you a better chance of hopefully finding like the next Joe Pavelski, the next Jamie Benn, some late round stud. Vegas as well, Peyton Krebs, Kaden Korczak, I thought were sick picks. Looking through the other guys, dude from Russia. You never know, like a Russian dude in the second or third. It could be like the next Nikita Kucherov. Those are always like, I don't know how many of you guys watch the KHL. Washington as well, I thought they only had 4 picks, and they got McMichael and Leeson. So considering what they had, I thought they did a pretty good job. But that's pretty much it there, guys, for my draft review. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If I missed any like absolute late round steals I need to know about, definitely let me know in the comments section. Also, love to hear from you guys. What do you think of the draft? What were the biggest surprises? How do you think your team did? Try to get some combos going there in the comments section. But that's going to be it, guys. Like I was saying, hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, leave a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do that. And as always, guys, thank you for watching. Have a nice day. Goodbye.